Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my 2025 challenge where I'm trying to photograph 250 birds in the state of Massachusetts this year. Today is Sunday, March 9th, and you may have noticed that I didn't post a video last week, so it is the tail end of winter now and things are getting a little slow in the sense that there's a certain number of winter birds that are around, and I've had the chance to photograph most of those. There are still a few that are missing, but I haven't been able to chase them down. Spring migration has not started yet, so right now it's a little hard to find the material for a video every week. So I'm going to be posting sporadically through the month of March, but then when April rolls around and spring migration starts, then I will get back onto a schedule of posting every week, I hope. So this morning I've come back to Plum Island to do a little birding here. It's going to be an opportunity for me to get a walk in and get some fresh air, but I'm honestly not expecting to see any new species today at Plum Island. My plan for this video is to catch you up on several birds that I've seen already and photographed. Haven't had a chance to put in the videos yet. So let's start and go through those, and I will work in obviously anything nice that I see at Plum Island as we do that. So the first bird I'd like to show in this video is an Eastern Screech Owl. A fellow birder at Horn Pond had one show up in his yard, and he lives very close to where I live, and he was kind enough to invite me over to take a look at this bird. So this is a nice gray-phased screech owl. Kind of amazing how well it blends into the bark there. I think most of the ones that I have seen have been the red-phased screech owl, so it's kind of interesting to see this gray-phased screech owl. It doesn't look like it has any reddish or orangish color in it at all. Very cute owl. I was joking with him that it looks more like a plush toy than a bird, and it's actually trilling a lot as well. I think it's trying to find a mate. It's kind of hard to hear because there's a lot of traffic noise and noise from the nearby train station at this location, but the owl doesn't seem to mind. Okay, so the next bird I'd like to show is great cormorant. So there is a great cormorant that's been spending a lot of time on the Mystic Lakes, which is actually just a couple of miles from my house. And so I went down there and did find this great cormorant on the docks here at Mystic Lake. Mystic Lake is divided into upper and lower parts with a dam in the middle, and the water flowing over the dam is keeping the ice at bay in this location. So there's a lot of birds packed in here. I think there was about 350 common mergansers here, really high count, and then also this great cormorant hanging out. So this one is in breeding plumage, which is kind of nice. You can see, I think, the white patch on the side at some point in this video, and the white patch under the throat, and kind of a nice deep glossy black color as well. Kind of a neat looking bird. Before arriving at Plum Island this morning, I made a short stop in Newburyport to look for some reported Wilson snipe. Newburyport is the closest town to Plum Island, so this was hardly out of my way. The reported location for the snipe was Joppa Park, which is basically a walking path that runs along the Merrimack River, where it widens out just before emptying into the Atlantic Ocean. While I was looking for the snipe at Joppa Park, I had some nice sightings, including this rather energetic and feisty group of bufflehead. It's the time of year when many birds start to think about finding a mate instead of just focusing on surviving the winter. There were also several gadwall at Joppa Park, resting on the shore in good light. And best of all, I noticed this female scaup with a relatively tall head shape that I was pretty sure was a lesser scaup. This was confirmed when I spotted her mate, and I was able to see a purplish sheen to his head. A male greater scaup would have a greenish sheen to the head. So lesser scaup is a new bird for the year list. I didn't have any luck with the snipe on this visit, but stay tuned for further developments. Okay, well, I've just had a pretty nice walk on the beach at the southern end of Plum Island at Sandy Point by the Emerson Rocks. I've seen some scoters, some black scoters in particular. I think I got a little footage of those. Got a little footage of another horned grebe. There's some usual species out there like common eider as well. Nothing too exciting, but it was actually pretty pleasant on the beach, a little bit sheltered from the wind there, so I wasn't feeling the wind as much. So getting back to the new species, the next thing I want to report is a Rusty Blackbird. So this is a really nice species to get on the list. It's a regular species in Massachusetts, but one of the trickier ones to find, at least in my experience. They are a declining species, but my home patch, Horn Pond, is not a bad spot for them, and one showed up there one day last weekend, and I rushed over and I found it right away. That was kind of nice. So this looks to be an adult male Rusty Blackbird in non-breeding plumage, and I think it's kind of neat the way you can see the flecks of rusty color on the bird. That helps separate them from other common blackbird species like red-winged blackbirds and grackles. Just overall kind of a nice looking bird with those flecks of color and the bright yellow eye as well. So speaking of grackles, they have also just showed up in Massachusetts last week. And so while I was looking for the Rusty Blackbird, I also got some footage of a grackle and managed to catch some of the iridescence that it has. Can't say that I love grackles, but if you catch them in just the right light, they are sort of a handsome bird. So add that one to the list as well. In late morning, as I was finishing my birding at Plum Island, I was checking the eBird rarity reports on my phone, and I noticed that some of the reports of the Wilson snipe were specifying a very specific location that was actually a few hundred yards east of Joppa Park. So apparently I had been looking in the wrong location. So I headed back over for another try, and this time I was able to spot a snipe moving around in the wet vegetation. Snipe can be tough to spot due to their camouflaged plumage, but it certainly helps when they're scampering around. You can see this one putting its very long bill to good use as it probes all the way down into the mud. Then, eventually, I was able to see 3 snipe together. I was quite happy to add this species not only to the year list, but to the channel life list as well. At this same location, I also spotted a pair of American widgeon. They were a bit distant, but the male widgeon is unmistakable with that white patch on the forehead, so I'll count this one for the year list as well. Okay, so next up is a bird that I thought was on the list, but then I was looking at the list and realized that it wasn't, and that is hooded merganser. Seen this a few times throughout the year. Got a short clip that I'll show here from quite early in the year. And then also just last weekend, when some water opened up in the Garden Lagoon at Horn Pond, I was able to get some additional footage. It's a common bird in Massachusetts in early spring and late fall, and sometimes they stay through the winter, but really one of the more beautiful ducks, I think. Sometimes they're so common that we don't appreciate it, but hooded merganser, especially the male, of course, is really a good-looking duck. And then another common bird that really should be on the list by now is red-tailed hawk. I've seen these almost every time I go out, but hadn't had a chance to get one perched for a while in good light. So just actually a few days ago was out for a walk at Horn Pond and came across this guy. He was actually actively hunting in the garden. The first killdeer of the year had showed up in the community garden area, and this red-tailed hawk was making passes at it. So I was kind of rooting for the killdeer there. They like to breed there every year, so hope that red-tailed hawk finds a meal somewhere else. All right, and then one more bird I'd like to add in this video is golden-crowned kinglet. So this is a common winter bird. I'm hearing them and seeing them all the time, but they are hard to photograph. I did get one particularly nice photograph when I was at Mount Auburn looking for the orange-crowned warbler. I had hoped that I would get some video after that at some point, but I haven't really gotten much video, but happy to count this nice photograph here of that bird. Okay, so that's all the birds I have to add right now, but I do have some time to bird this upcoming week before my video comes out. I'm going to be able to bird after work for a little while now because of the time change and the days getting longer. So there is a possibility I'll pick up another couple of birds before this video comes out. And if I do, I will put them in right now and do some voiceover with that. Okay, so one more bird to add to the year list is American crow, which is a very common species, but can be tricky to film. I find that they often fly away as soon as I raise my camera. So if you're paying attention to the count in the upper right-hand corner, you will see that we have reached a milestone, number 100 for the year list. So that means that I need another 150 birds to reach my target, and that feels like a pretty tough mountain to climb right now. And here's some close-up footage of a Carolina wren. This is a common species that breeds at Horn Pond. They're cheerful little birds, and they have one of the loudest songs given their small size. A red-breasted merganser also showed up at Horn Pond recently. They're common in saltwater and they're already on the year list, but they're much more scarce in freshwater, so it was good to see one on my home patch. I also photographed this immature great blackback gull at Horn Pond just the other day. The ice is finally melting on the main pond, and the bird activity is definitely picking up. And finally, I was able to get some better footage of American widgeon when one showed up on my home patch just yesterday. Next week, actually, I am going to be traveling for work, going to a conference, but it's in an interesting place. It's in Panama City, so I am hoping to have, well, I am planning to have a couple of days to bird after the conference, and so I will definitely be trying to photograph birds there in Panama, and I am hoping to put together, obviously, then a couple of videos based on that. So fingers crossed that that works out. And then, of course, like I said, we'll get back to the 250 bird challenge in Massachusetts in April and hopefully start racking up those migrants as they come in. But I'll wrap this video up here now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.